wanted to talk about, the features, the way that they basically work in the application, but I also want to talk a little bit about, how to configure these. So let me just first, before we dive into it, introduce myself real quick. So my name is Dion Taylor. I work for RSM as a director, and what I do every day, I actually worked for some other companies where I head up the CRM practice, and I was doing implementations for about 5 years, and then I started working 5 years ago for RSM. And since I've been working for RSM, I've actually been on the pre-sale side, which is fun because I get to play around with the new features like what Roz was saying, and it's really right. You don't need to be a developer to do a lot of this stuff in Dynamics 365, which is great, right? A lot of this is functional stuff. So that's what we're going to be talking about today as well. But definitely check out my blog. I do posts once a week. I publish every Tuesday, and I really try to focus as much as I can on the new features. So new stuff that's coming out, or stuff that just came out, or stuff that's coming, all of that type of stuff. You can follow me on Twitter as well. You can also see that big QR code on your screen, which is a link to my LinkedIn profile. So if you scan that with your mobile device, we can connect on LinkedIn, or you can just search for me on LinkedIn as well. I have the link on there as well. And then my YouTube channel is on there as well. Basically the same thing. I really try to go ahead and put these videos out there as well, so that people can get a visual with that as well at the same time. And of course, I forgot completely forgot about this. I'm a Microsoft MVP as well, which is great, right? It really gives us a lot to talk about. So all right, so I have a little bit of an agenda here. I have the Dynamics configuration options that we're going to be talking about. Like I said, right, that's really the gist of the whole thing, so to speak. I really want to go ahead and, like I said, kind of talk about those types of things, like what is available and how can we actually enable some of these features. So I'm going to be talking about then performance management, opportunity management in Dynamics 365 sales. I'll also talk a little bit about the sales enablement tools, how I like to call them, and that's really how these sales organizations can use these tools to kind of enable their sales reps. Because back in the day, CRM used to be just I almost want to say just an admin tool where people were just entering information, but it's so much more now, right? Because we now also have the intelligence that comes with the platform, where we can use that intelligence to basically give us information as we are working in the program. So I wanted to mention that as well. And then of course, I am very visual. I love to do demos. That's what I do for a living. So that's another thing that I definitely want to show you guys today as well. So let's go ahead and just dive in. I kind of like this slide because this is everything that comes with Dynamics 365 and Sales Insights. So you can see there is a lot of stuff, and we're going to talk about a lot of these things today as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive right in and move to the next slide here. So I'm going to start with some of those sales configuration options that we have, right? So the lead and opportunity management sections in the app setting area of the Sales Hub, which I'll show you in a second as well, allows people that have the right access to configure whether or not accounts, contacts, and opportunity records should automatically be created when a lead is qualified. Now, if you turn this option off, there's going to be a small pop-up window that's going to open when a lead is qualified, and then the user can select the records that they want to be created, right, as a result of this qualification step. And it was kind of funny. I remember that this was actually out of the box in CRM 2011, or it was called Dynamics CRM, I believe, in 2011, and then Microsoft did away with it, but this is back. So if you want to use this, you can just set that option to no, and then you'll get this little pop-up on qualifications. Now, This is one that if there's any folks on here that have been working with the application for quite some time, they know that this was a very big deal. And we have been asking Microsoft for this for a long, long time. Well, what is this? Well, now we can actually make changes to the opportunity close window. So you can add custom fields, you can add business rules, right? If you want to capture additional data regarding an opportunity. And you can kind of see that in this example that you see on my screen, I'm closing an opportunity as lost, and then I select, as you can see, right, I select lost here, my status reason, oh, not lost, is actually, I'm closing this as lost, and then I'm selecting the status reason of other. And when I do that, now I have another field there, thanks to business rules, that is now showing me the other reason field, which, as you can see, is now a required field. So let me just go back here if you didn't see that, right? So if I select the status reason of canceled, I don't have that other field. If I now change that to other, boom, there is my other reason field, which, you know, again, we did with some of the business rules there. And then we also have some of the productivity tools here. So one of them is called the enhanced email experience in Dynamics 365, which allows users to create emails in this new compose window. And there's no need to actually leave the record that you're working on. So what that means is that if you're working on this particular email, but you want to go ahead and, like, maybe you need to enter some information that's in an opportunity or something, you can go ahead and navigate to that opportunity, but this screen will stay on top of that window. And then, of course, you can minimize it, you can maximize it, etc. Now, you have to note that your organization will need to have the Microsoft Exchange or Outlook turned on for users to send emails, obviously, through Dynamics 365 Sales. And then from here, you have the ability to add attachments as well, right? Like I said earlier. And we'll talk a little bit about what you see over here, the email engagement. I'll go into detail on that as well. Now, this one is a very cool one as well. This is a business scan feature that really helps sales reps easily add new customers and prospects by scanning their business card, right? So what you can do is you can use that built-in camera of your personal device, or if you already took an image of a business card, you can upload that card image as well. And then when a picture of the business card is taken, then AI will automatically read that business card data and populate the relevant fields in that Dynamics 365 record. So the field mapping of that can actually be adjusted by an admin as well. And then you can even select whether or not you want to keep that scanned image for future reference as well. If you don't require that, then obviously you can turn that off as well. And there's currently 2 places where you can use this business card scanner. You can use it, as you can see on this example. This is on the quick create form for contacts, but it's also available for leads as well. Here's another one. So users with the right privileges can create Word templates in Dynamics 365. We've had that for quite some time, right? And what you can do then is you can push data from Dynamics 365 into the documents. So if you're turning on this PDF functionality, users then have the ability to leverage this Word document and turn them into a PDF. There's no extra click for that, by the way. So administrators have the ability to choose the tables or entities, as we used to call them, for which this PDF generation is enabled. And when you enable this feature, then the end users will see the export to PDF button on a form. And then when you click that button, you can then select any of those Word templates that are available for that table. And then you can preview the PDF, right? You can kind of zoom in, zoom out, you can download it, or you can email it to the customer. And if you have the SharePoint integration turned on as well, then you're going to see a button for that as well. So you can see that, right? Save to SharePoint. Now, if you are on a table that does not have that SharePoint integration enabled, you're going to see a button that says Save to Dynamics 365. And what happens then is that it will actually create a note with that PDF attachment, and that will be saved to that record. Then we also have Microsoft's Team integration, and we're going to get some more in July. I believe that there's a preview that's coming out in July where we're going to be able to do a lot more than just pinning Dynamics 365 records and views in a Teams channel. But we're also going to be able to actually have that chat window, pane, whatever you want to call it, kind of sit inside of a Dynamics 365 record. We also have, again, right, we already talked about that a little bit. If you have the SharePoint integration turned on, you can also take a look at those records that you saved on SharePoint in Microsoft Teams as well. And currently, I actually wrote an article about that. There's also a Teams integration regarding calls. So if you want to make calls from Teams from within Dynamics 365, that's currently available as well. This is a preview feature, and you need a couple of extra licenses besides just Teams in order for that to work. I actually have everything related to that in the article that I wrote about that as well. So this is kind of what that looks like, right? We are inside of Teams, and then we can just pin these records directly inside of a Teams channel. And you also see here, right? I have a view on here as well, which is my open opportunities. So this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. Oops, I'm going too fast. This is that Teams call integration, right? So the way that it works is that you're going to have this pane here on the side where which is your dialer, right? So you can go ahead and click on a phone number, and that will then dial out using the Teams call. So there are a couple of things that you can configure here, as you can see, right? You can enable it for certain security roles, and you can also say, hey, which apps do you want this pane to show up in? So you can see here, I actually selected just the Sales Hub, but if you have other apps that you're using, you can have it embedded in those apps as well. And now let's talk about some of the product catalog settings in there. So we can set whether or not we want to and products, if you're familiar, or if you're not familiar, I should say, those can be related to opportunities and invoices and orders and quotes and everything like that, right? So that the sales rep can very quickly select what this client is interested in purchasing. But usually we have a product catalog, and a lot of times we see that the product catalog would probably live in like an ERP system or something like that, right? And then that would be pushed over to Dynamics 365. Then we also have the system pricing calculation. So there is very simplistic system pricing in the system, right? It's just looking at the price and then the quantity, and that's really what it's doing. So you can leave that on, but if you have your own custom pricing by using a plugin or something like that, then you can turn that off, and then you can use your own logic, which is very nice, I feel. And then if you want to allow folks to add opportunity products, right, to an opportunity without the need to set a price list, then you can turn that off as well, so that people don't have to use price lists. I'm not sure. I mean, it's great that we can do that, but we might not always. That might not always be the smartest thing, obviously, to do. So. And then whether or not you want to allow the selection of a default price list. So what that means is that there can be some built-in rules, right? So for example, these price lists belong to these territories, right? So that when you have an opportunity in a set territory, that could then automatically be applied to that opportunity. So all of those are part of those sales configuration options. And then I also wanted to talk a little bit about LinkedIn Sales Navigator integration. I actually, I can talk about this for hours because there's a lot of things that we can do through the LinkedIn Sales Navigator integration. I wrote several articles about that. I actually did several sessions on that as well, how that actually works, what's written back from LinkedIn Sales Navigator to Dynamics and vice versa. So definitely, again, check out my website, d365goddess.com, if you want to review some of those sessions as well. But there's a lot that we can do. So real quick, talking about you know, some of those, the licenses, there are two different options. You can have the Microsoft Relationship Sales license, and that's kind of like a combination license, right? So you get Dynamics 365 Sales plus Sales Navigator, and that's really that combo license. If you want to purchase that, your organization has to be on an agreement with Microsoft. So obviously, there's a lot of people that don't have that, which means that they can then purchase Sales Navigator separately. So they will buy a Sales Navigator subscription, and they will have Dynamics 365 Sales as well. And I already talked a little bit about that, right? You're going to be able to view LinkedIn data, profile data inside of Dynamics 365. We can synchronize data back and forth between Sales Navigator and Dynamics 365. We can have notifications, like there's a whole bunch of things that's relevant to that. So let's real quick dive into a demo here. I'm just going to go ahead and show you some of those options that I just talked to you guys about. So if you want to go ahead and start configuring some of those options, let me actually zoom in here a little bit. You would go here in your Sales Hub to the app settings. A lot of these configuration options are in here. So you can see here on the general settings, this is kind of what I talked about so far, right? If we click here on the lead qualification, this is kind of what I was talking about in my first slide, right? Do we want to automatically generate those account contacts and opportunity records when we're qualifying a lead? If not, if we want that pop-up for the user to decide whether or not we're creating those records, then you want to set this to no. And then we also have right here, if you click on opportunity closing, right, this is giving us some additional functionality here on that opportunity closing form where we can collect some additional details, right? This is where you turn that on. And then some of those productivity tools, right? We talked about that enhanced email where we can pull up that email, and let me actually go ahead and show you what that looks like. Let me just go here to a contact record. I need to go back here to sales. And let me just go to a contact here. My favorite guy, Angel. Here we go. So here's my email. I'm going to go ahead and say, I want to send an email. Did I click on that or not? Let's try that again. I guess I didn't, right? This is that compose window. So now if I need to go somewhere else, if I want to see some related cases and orders and opportunities, and I want to go here to this opportunity because I need to get some data from there, right? This is this opportunity ID. I'm just going to go ahead and copy it and paste it into that email. So this is what you can do from within here. We'll talk about, like I said, the email engagement a little bit later. So let's go back here to Dynamics 365, converting to PDF. This is where you can select all of the tables that you want to enable for this, right? So that you can create those Word templates and then convert them to a PDF. If you want to show all of your enabled tables, you can just click here on yes. You can see I have this enabled for account, opportunity, order, and quote. And the way that it looks, let me just go here to my product line items, make sure that I actually have something. So you can see here, I have a couple of price lists over here. This, or I should say price list items or product items, I should say. And then this is that button, right? Export to PDF. I can click on that. And now I can say, oh, let me just real quick, let's just take a look and see what that looks like. Here's my RSM quote. Oh, wow, that looks pretty good. And now I can save that quote to SharePoint, or I can email that. And when I click that, that's going to attach this as an attachment, obviously, to that email, that PDF over here. All right. And let me see if I forgot any of the settings here. Oops, this is not where I wanted to go. Let me just go back here. My opportunity, let's go back here. We also have here that chat integration, right? If you want to integrate that Teams, if you want to turn on, right, you can see that here to enable linking of Dynamics 365 records to Microsoft Teams. And let me see here. So here I am in Teams, and you can see here that I have here this A Data Corporation record from Dynamics 365. I have that linked in here. And this is really easy to do. You just basically hit click over here. You just pick Dynamics 365, right? And then I can also post to the channel about this, and I can do an entity selection, or I can filter by particular account, right? And I can search for that account as well. And if I prefer doing a view, I can do that as well. So let's say I'm going to do a view. I'm going to do my active accounts. I'm going to save that, and boom, now I have my active accounts visualized inside of Teams. Takes a little bit, and here we go. And here is the LinkedIn integration. As you can see, right, you can have the turn on that Sales Navigator integration, turn on daily profile pictures, see personnel and employment changes. And obviously there's also some settings in LinkedIn Sales Navigator as well. From an end user perspective, I think this is really, really cool, because if I go in here and I click here on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, I can get not just the member profile. Let me just give it a second here, right? I can see his member profile, but what is really, really cool is, let me just go ahead and say get introduced. I can also see what I have in common with this particular person. So I can see Angel and I have all of these folks in common. These are connections that we both have in common. And then I can see what I have in common with them and with Angel. So Igor, Angel, and myself, we are all in two mutual groups. And if I click here on Rachel, then I can see the three of us, we all worked at RSM. So then I can start asking for an introduction. So really neat functionality that I really quick wanted to touch on during this session. Now, Dynamics 365 also comes with forecasting capabilities. And if you have the correct access levels, then you can create forecasts as well. Now, there are several different types of forecasts that can be created. So you can create org chart forecasts, right? That's really like, oh, here are my salespeople and how much are we forecasting for them, right? Then we also have product forecasts. So now we can kind of see the products that are being forecasted to be sold. And then we also have territory forecasts, right? Now we're not looking at an individual level. We're really looking at the different territories and how much they are forecasting per territory. And then if you have your own custom forecast that you want to create, you can do that as well, right? You can see that create from scratch button directly on here. Let me just click through those real quick. We just talked on that. All right. So now for the premium forecasting capabilities, that's actually additional forecasting capabilities, right? So your organization is going to need to have a sales insights license, and that is an add-on to Dynamics 365 sales. So there's some advanced features here, such as the option to configure snapshots for forecast. And with this option, the system will automatically take a snapshot of the forecast data, right? So that you can use that later to kind of compare, right? How did we look in January, and now we're 6 months along? How are we looking right now? And then you also have deal flow analysis, which allows you to use those snapshots to get a better understanding, right, of how that forecast has changed over time. And then that trend visualization is a nice way for sales reps to kind of look at the trend of a forecast over time. So premium forecasting also allows, right, whoever has access to that to configure those predictive forecasts based on that historical data. And this one has been part of Dynamics 365 forever, right, for as long as I can remember. But I still feel like that this is a very important part of the application, because goals allow us to manage KPIs in a very easy way. We can create goals for monetary type of tracking. So think about a sales rep that needs to close a certain amount of business, right, within a certain amount of time. But you could also have a goal that could be of account type. So think about a marketing department that needs to onboard 20 new accounts in 6 months, or think about an inside sales rep, right, that needs to set 20 appointments per month or something like that. So all of these goals can be configured in the application using, right, goals themselves, goal metrics, roll-up queries, etc. Now, the system has a few out-of-the-box goal charts available, and you can then use those in dashboards as well. So I'll show you that in the demo as well. And I keep forgetting to click through this. Okay. So let's take a look at some of those configuration settings. So I'm going to go back here in my sales insight settings, and you can see there's a lot on here. Or oops, I don't want to go to sales insight settings. I want to go to app settings. I think it was in app settings. I keep forgetting. Yeah, here it is, because there's a lot here, right? We just covered here general. We'll cover some of this stuff a little bit later. So here we have our performance management settings, right? So I'm going to drill into the forecast configuration. And before I do that, let me first kind of show you what that looks like. That would make sense, right? I always like to first kind of take a look at it and then kind of look under the hood and kind of see what made that up. So this is a typical forecast that you see here. I have some managers that have people reporting to them, right? And then you can see the quota. You can see here that me as a manager, all of these folks fall under me. So that total quota is my managerial quota. You can see here that I have some prediction models as well. That is part of that additional license, the Sales Insight. Then you can enable this prediction model as well. And then you can see here some totals, right? What is in my forecast category? What is won? What is committed? What is best case, etc. So the way that that works, if I actually go back here to opportunities, let me just go ahead and open my demo deal. You're going to see this forecasting category field on here with these different values in here. So you can configure the forecast to look at that drop down, or you can point it to another drop down, but this is kind of the way it works out of the box. So let's go back here now. Yeah, to the forecast. This is that 2022 forecast. I'm going to show you real quick, right? So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to pick a type of org chart, right? You're going to do that from that main page here. You're just going to click on any one of those. I checked the org chart forecast when I created this, and you can see that over here in a type. Once you choose a type, you can obviously not change it back. So you're going to put some general information on here, right? Who is on the top of that hierarchy? And then once you do that, you can see that all of the folks that are reporting to me also show up then under that hierarchy. And then you can set which view you want to use for the data that makes up that forecast, right? So you can see here there is an opportunities forecast view, but you can also create a custom view as well. Then you can set your dates, right? You can set custom dates. You can set fiscal year dates, as you can see. And then you can determine when to start the forecast, how many periods there are, etc. So that's all you do over here. Then we have some permissions, who has access to it. This is where you can basically configure, right? What do you want in there? Do you want that gap to quota field in there? And if so, how do you want that to be calculated? Because some of these fields can be calculated. This is a calculated field where I'm looking at the quota field minus the opportunities won fields, right? So you can do stuff like that as well. But I also have, if I look here at forecast, if I look here at forecast and I click here on settings, I'm just saying, oh, this is also, sorry, this is also a calculated field. I want my pipeline field. That's just looking at the pipeline field, right? It's a roll up at the pipeline of all of the opportunities that have that pipeline stage. And it's looking at the estimated revenue, and then it rolls all of that data up. So that's kind of how you can configure that. Then you can filter out that data. Maybe, you picked a view, but you want to add some additional filters. You can do that. You can also add some drill down to this. I'll show you that in a second. I completely forgot about that. And then here you can turn on those snapshots, and I'll show you that in a second as well. And then there are some things here that you can do, right? Do you want to enable multi-currency selections, those prediction factors, and do you want to auto hide the parent row, yes or no? So you can do that as well. So now let's go back here to this forecast. I keep on to switch back, but I don't have to do that. Right, we already saw this. Right, this is the forecast that comes with Dynamics 365 sales. What you see here, this trend and this flow, that's part of sales insight. So let's first talk about what comes with Dynamics 365. We already said the prediction piece is part of sales insights, right? But you might not always need prediction. The nice thing with this is I can actually also drill in. You saw earlier that I had drill in settings, right? So if I click here on account and I want to, for example, see all of the accounts that Teresa Testing has opportunities with, I can just drill into that. Now I can see 65K in forecast with AdventureWorks, 1500 with Harrison, etc. And you can also do that by product, right? Let's say all the products that Teresa has in her forecast. She has, look at that, 88, 34, 40, and 12-inch monitors. So if you wanted to get that drill through, you can configure that from here as well. Now, if I want to see the underlying opportunities, I can just click on a person, and that's going to show me all of the underlying opportunities. And I can update that, right? If I need to update close dates or revenue amounts, et cetera, I can do that as well. Now, what I really like is this Kanban view. This is now showing me all of my opportunities in the different buckets, right? So let's say this one that was committed 15K is actually now going to the best case. I can just drag and drop this information on here so I don't have to open up those opportunities. If I want to open up the opportunity, I can do that. I can just click on that and then start, updating my opportunities. So that is kind of what it does out of the box. But if you have, like I said, that the ability to purchase sales insights as well, you get some of this information, right? Here's my trend chart kind of showing me everything that's happening, right? If I just want to see, if I don't want to see, for example, the forecast, I can click on that and then it will just disappear. Let's also not look at the prediction, but we can kind of see here that we're taking a nosedive here. So we're not doing really, really well. And then this is the flow chart that kind of works with those snapshots, right? Those snapshots are basically taking a backup of all of my data, right? All of my underlying opportunities. So now let's take a look at where we were looking at May 30th and compare that with June 25th. I can click here on apply. And then here I can see we had 4 million on April 30th, and I can see all of the different stages they were in on that date, and I had 58 opportunities. And on the 25th, I have 1.26 million and 33 opportunities. And then if you kind of hover over, you can kind of see what happened, right? I can see 18 opportunities were committed. Some were won, some went to best case, some went to omitted. And if I want to see the underlying opportunities, I can click on that. And here we go. I can see what happened, right? So I can see this demo deal went from me. It's still with me. It used to be 46K. Now it's a little under 10K. So it's probably not a good thing, right? So really giving these sales guys some details on that as well. I just think it's a really, really nice tool. Then obviously we also have business process flows. I'm assuming a lot of people are familiar with that, right? We can really start to configure some of those processes, those sales processes, right? And then we can also configure different paths to take, so to speak, depending on what data is entered in Dynamics 365. Now, that Kanban board that you saw earlier, you also have the ability to turn that on your opportunity view. You can see here that I'm actually on opportunities, and I can actually change the view. As you can see here, this is a Kanban board, right? So you can change that view type as well. You can turn that on, and then people have the ability to look at the opportunities as a Kanban board. Now, playbooks are kind of nice as well. Think of them as a way to automate repeatable processes. So when a user launches a playbook, you're going to see a set of activities that are going to be triggered. So administrators can create playbook templates for common scenarios. So the playbook template has then playbook categories to kind of define the scenario for an individual playbook. So think about a playbook event could be a contract renewal, right, for customer. So the way it works is that there could be several steps that need to happen in order to complete that contract renewal, right, which all can be captured in that playbook. So playbooks can have one or multiple record types or tables that it can be applied to. So think about, applying a playbook to an opportunity, or think about applying it to, a lead record, for example. So currently you can configure playbooks for leads, for orders, quotes, opportunities, invoices, accounts, and contacts. So this means that playbooks can be launched from those tables that they are enabled for. Now, in the playbook template, admins will configure the list of activities that will be created when it's launched from a table, right? So for example, you're launching a playbook from an opportunity. So each activity can have a due date and a time and a duration, right? So you're going to have a due date. This is the date. This is a due time. And then this is how long this is going to take. So when a playbook has been completely configured, a playbook template, I should say, then you need to publish it so that users can actually start using it. And these playbook launches can actually be done automatically or manually. So in order to manually launch a playbook, you just need to click on that launch playbook button that you'll see on the opportunity form, and that will open a window, and then you can select a playbook template. So let me show you real quick what I'm talking about. I'm very visual, and I'm assuming you guys are too. So if I go here to playbook templates, this is, like I said, these are really events, right? So let's say I have a new lead or I have a new opportunity. These are the steps that I need to go through. So first I need to do I need to do a phone call, then I need to do an appointment, then I need to do a task, and then I need to do another task, right? And you can see here that I actually have here the selected record types that I can do this for. So I have an opportunity and I have a lead. Now, when we're creating these activities, let me see if I can edit this. It's going to show you, right, what the due date is. So that's basically 5 days after this playbook was launched at 10 a.m. And how long does it take? This takes an hour. So you can see here that I have a bunch of activities. Now let's go to an opportunity so I can kind of show you what that looks like. Oh, I am in sales. You go to opportunities. Let's just do a new opportunity. Who cares? I'm going to call this playbook test. We need an account, ABC company. Sure, great. Now this is going to create, I have a workflow here that will create a phone call. So I'm just going to delete that so you can exactly see what the playbook does once I trigger that. Come on. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to delete this, delete. And now I'm going to launch that playbook that I just showed you. So here's my launch playbook. And again, this can be automated as well, right? So I'm going to say here, this is my my new lead, new opportunity playbook. I'm going to hit launch. And all of those activities that you just saw in that playbook, boom, are now being populated. So you can see if I open this up, what my due date is, right? So this is due 7/1/2021 at 10 a.m. So you can see it uses that playbook to automatically populate all of those activities that we need to do. So we already talked a little bit about the product catalog. It's really that collection of products in Dynamics 365 sales that we have, right? A lot of times we see that this lives in an ERP system and is then pushed to Dynamics 365. You can see here, I wanted to put this image on here as well. So you can see there's a lot of different tables that deal with products. We can also have a different relationship with other products. And we can also have price lists, and then we can have the different price list items that are tied to the product. So there's a lot of setup that you can do. But the main thing here is that these products are really used by end users to add them right to opportunities and quotes and orders and invoices, etc. So then the system can then, if you have that system calculation turned on, that the system can then automatically calculate those line items based on right the products, the price list, the unit prices, and the quantities, obviously, as well. Now, we already talked a little bit about this as well, but I just wanted to one more time mention it here as well, because I do feel like this is also part of opportunity management in Dynamics 365 sales. So I already showed you how you can turn that on, but now let me show you how it actually works in Dynamics 365. Oh no, I already did that, right? I actually clicked that export to PDF button, and then we can save it. So I already did that, so I'm not going to do that again. Then we also have sales literature. I can barely pronounce it in Dynamics 365. And that really stores sales related documentation such as product specifications or brochures, right, in Dynamics 365. And you can use this so that sales can use this as a central place to look for sales documentation in the form of attachments, right? Which makes it a lot easier for the sales rep to find that documentation and access it. If you're actually working in Outlook, if you have this enabled, right, with the Outlook integration, then you can also access the sales literature from Outlook and even attach it to an email with a few simple clicks. So that's another very nice feature. Now, the timeline in Dynamics 365 is obviously very important, right? It's a control that allows users to create and view interactions with people, with customers, right, in this one single stream. Now, the interactions are called activities, right? Some examples of this are email messages, meetings, phone calls, etc. And then you can also put notes in here as well, and those can also be viewed on the timeline. Now, very interesting thing here is that you can actually configure the timeline on entity forms, and you can configure which activities are going to be included in a timeline, but you can also configure how they're going to be displayed for each individual activity, and if users are able to create a new activity for the timeline or not, or if it's just viewing only. So, for example, an admin can configure users to be able to create a phone call from the timeline, but not a task activity, right? And then you can obviously also use filters that users can utilize to get to the data that they're looking for. But I just wanted to mention that because there's a lot that we can do on here. We can also configure forms, right? Card forms that we can then use in that timeline. All right, so let's go back here. Let me first kind of show you that opportunity Kanban board that I was talking about. I'm actually going to set this to open opportunities. Let me just do open item opportunities. So I have this enabled that I can actually switch this to this Kanban view. So you can see here, I just selected show as, and then I can do Kanban, and then you can do either by status, which is kind of boring, or you can do by business process flow. Now you can see I'm not using this particular business process flow. This is looking at the opportunity sales process out of the box business process flow. Can you point it somewhere else? No, you cannot. I don't like it either. I hope they're going to change that, but currently we cannot do that. But it's kind of nice because now I can just, let's say I want to win this particular opportunity. I can just go ahead and drag it over here, and that will open this close opportunity screen for me, which is really, really nice. How do you configure this? Well, you go to the solution, you go to the entity. Let's see here if we can find opportunity and opportunity. Okay, we click on that. There's no need to expand the table. You're going to see a control tab on here in a second. Hello. Okay. And you can see here, I have it enabled. So you do add control, and then you just look for this Kanban control, right? And then you just add it. And if you do that, then people will be able to use this Kanban view. So the product catalog, I already kind of talked about that a little bit, right? Again, if you go into app settings here, here are some of those product catalog settings that I talked about in the beginning, right? Let's go down here. Do we want to create products in active state? Do we want to allow selection of a default price list? Do we want to use system pricing, etc.? So you can configure all of that here. Now, this particular one, I wrote an article about this one as well. This is a new feature that is in preview currently where you have a different way to add products to opportunity lines. So let me just go ahead and open again an opportunity here. Let's go back to my demo deal here. So I can go here to my product line items because I have this turned on. Let me actually go to my defaults price list. And then let me go and click on add products. So this is that new screen that Microsoft is working on. You can see here that there's a couple of things that you can change. You can change this, you can customize those columns on those views. So the opportunity add products view, that's what you're seeing over here, right? I'm in the opportunity products, but it's kind of nice because I can just start adding, right? I can type in quantities and I can say add, and I can do 10 of those, add, and then I can save that to the opportunity. If you click here on selected, you can review it, and then maybe you did something wrong, you need to remove it, you can do that as well, right? You can, let me go back here. You can go to recently used products. And you can, if people have access, you can allow them to do write-in products as well. And then you can search for products as well. I like this search monitor because I don't have to do a star, as you can see, right? It just shows everything that has the word monitor in there. So that's a really nice feature as well. Again, in preview. So I would definitely recommend try it out in your sandbox. Give Microsoft some feedback on that as well, because it's always nice to be able to talk to Microsoft about that. So now I want to go to Mike, hello, make.powerapps.com. This is where we can configure the timeline. And I'm going to go here to data, to tables. Sorry, I'm going a little bit fast. Let's just look at the timeline on the accounts record. I'm going to go to forms. Can minimize this. Come on, you can do it. And this is really where you want to configure this in this new experience. And I'm going to show you in a second why, because you don't have these options, some of these options in the classic interface. Let me actually click on this. So yeah, okay, yep, that is all fine. Let me go back here while that loads. So if you click here on timeline, this is where you can do all of your timeline configurations, right? What are the record types that you want to show? You can click here on this little icon and it kind of shows you, right, what that is. How many records do you want to show on there? Do you want quick entry record types, right? Again, click on this, create notes or post inline and timeline. Do you want that to happen, notes or posts? Yep. You can enable that filter pane. You can edit that filter pane, right? What do you want people to be able to filter on? So you can configure filtering as well. And then what are some of my activities, right, that we'll see in here? If I'm saying I don't want booking alerts, I can just uncheck that. Oops. Enable, disable, right? I'm going to say done. And you can see on here as well, this is kind of what I was mentioning earlier. We don't care about letters. Create letters directly from the timeline, yes or no. You can do that from here as well. I'm going to discard this. Let me go back here to phone call. And then if you click on here, configure form, this is the visibility, how it will look on the timeline. So you have an option to just use a default form. And this is kind of showing you some of those fields that will be used. And then you can say, I want to hide or show the subject label, right? And do I also want to show what's in that field? Or maybe I'm going to say, I want to show the phone call form because that is my card form, right? Phone call card form. And then I want to say, I want to show the label called subject, and I want to always show what's in there. I want to hide the duration label. Maybe I don't want to hide, I want to show it. and then always show what's in there, right? You can also show it on expand, right? So this is kind of how you configure that timeline. All right, I got a lot more to cover. So now let's talk about some of those sales enablement tools. I'm not sure, I did a demo the other day and one of my coworkers was like, wait, that's cool. I have never seen that. Yes, this is the org chart. It has a live org chart that allows people to maintain these org charts in Dynamics 365. It's kind of nice too, because if you need to make changes quickly, you can just go ahead and drag and drop some of these folks around, and that will then rearrange that org chart. So that's kind of cool. It's actually, you have to access this from the account. You click on org chart and that will bring up this org chart for you. So we also talked a little bit about those enhanced emails already, right? That we can just go ahead and expand that. We already talked about that. So I don't want to go in here too much about this because we already did that, but I do want to talk about the assistant. I think this is a great tool, right? This is really allowing you whenever you're either in, the Outlook app, or you're in the application using your browser, or you're in the mobile application, this is really showing you those notifications. And this is also something that you can configure, right? What type of notifications do you want to show? What type of insights do you want to show? So I just wanted to highlight that as well. And I'll show you that in a second as well, where that is. Now, this functionality needs to be enabled, right? Like a lot of this stuff needs to be enabled before the end users can start taking advantage of some of that functionality. And if you have sales insights, I'll talk about that a little bit later, you can even create your own custom cards as well, right? Out of the box, but if you're just using Dynamics 365 sales, it's just a set bunch of cards that you can turn on and off. But you can also, oops, clicked on the wrong one. But if you have sales insights, you can create your own custom cards as well. So I'm not sure if any of you've seen this yet. There is a new Dynamics 365 sales mobile app. For anybody who's wondering, well, what about the Dynamics 365 mobile app that was there before? It still exists and it's not going anywhere. It's what Microsoft told me. So, but there is a new mobile app that is now available. So, and this is kind of nice because besides Dynamics 365 data, this app is actually also showing data that lives in Exchange, such as appointment information, right? If you sent out an appointment, if you want to see if there's anybody that actually responded to that appointment, you can see that as well. So the RSVP information is on there as well. Now, the search function in this app is actually using the relevant search capabilities of Dynamics 365, which means that in order to use the app, you'll need to have this enabled in your environment. So when you actually type in your text and then you hit enter, you'll notice that the results are displayed per entity or per table. You're going to see the total records that the search returned for each table, and then you can open any of the records from there. And then on the top, you'll notice that there's going to be a filter icon, so you can do some additional filtering on that as well. Now, the thing that really stands out to me is that when you open a record from the home screen or from search, the app is not showing the data in the main forms. Instead, it's actually using Quick View. So again, you can still get to the full functionality of the app. This is just some additional information that you get, right? I get meeting information. I can see any of my recent contacts that I've accessed and also my recent records. And then I can see all of my Dynamics meetings by clicking on this button, and then I can just access the Sales Hub by clicking on more and then going into that. So what do you say if we do another demo here real quick? I'm going to go first into, let me go here to summary. I'm going to go into my org chart. Let me just open up this A Datum Corporation. I'm going to click here on org chart. That's the magic button here. And let me zoom out a little bit, right? This is my org chart. And now if I need to move people around, let's say Deborah is actually now reporting to LaDonna, I can just boop, go ahead and drag and drop. And as you see, now she reports to LaDonna. And then you can save that, obviously. The assistants, right? Most of you probably are very familiar with that. I'm going to go back here. You can click on this. This is that assistant. right? That shows you all of that information, right? It's even reading some of my emails, which is kind of cool. And it's informing me of an upcoming meeting as well. So that's, I think, also a really, really cool feature as well. And if you click here on, I think it was app settings, let me see here. I always forget what this one is. Isn't this under productivity tools or something? Enhanced email, chat and collaboration. It has to be here somewhere. Anyways, but this is again also something that you want to turn on. Now, let me show you this is probably something you definitely want to see, that new mobile application, right? Let me just go ahead and mirror my screen here. Oops. It is trying. Here we go. So I'm going to go here to, this is that new application, right? The new sales app. That's for free. There's no extra cost to it or anything. So this is my home screen. You can see here any upcoming meetings. I can also drill into that. This is sent to people that are in my CRM system, so I can also review them. I can take a look at those records, right? You can also see here that I can see their response, right? Nobody actually RSVP'd to my meeting. You can see that in here as well. And then I can set it to a particular opportunity, right? Let's set it to this opportunity over here. And then I have that information regarding that opportunity, oops, in here as well. And you can see that this is that quick view form that I mentioned earlier. I can add a note here. I can open my opportunity. And then again, you can see those reminders from the assistant as well. From here, I can click this button here in the middle, right? If I do that, I can take a note, I can add a contact, and I can create a new, right? Whatever I have in my quick create. So you can do that as well. The scanning feature is going to come to this as well. So you can scan business cards, and also the feature that will allow you to take a picture of notes, and that will then be converted into text. So you can do stuff like that as well. If I go to meetings, this just shows me all of my meetings that I have in my Outlook. And then again, if I click here on more, right, this just takes me directly into my Dynamics 365 app, right? Now I can go, oops. Now I can go, let's go here to opportunities, right? And you can see the same opportunities screen that I was just on. So I just wanted to show that with you guys as well. I'm going to stop here for a second and see if there are any questions. Which app did I use to publish my mobile screen? Has nothing to do with the application. It's Mirroring 360. The only thing is that if you get a new laptop, you have to buy a new license, but the license is very cheap. I think it was like $10 or something like that. Let's take a look. Is there any questions, or can we keep going? All right, I don't see anything. You're welcome, Ollie. Okay, so sales insights. Let's talk a little bit about sales insights. So opportunity and lead scoring is part of sales insights, which is that add-on that I talked about earlier, right? That you can purchase. So this score provides kind of an indication of how likely a given opportunity or lead is to be won. Now, scores are calculated automatically by comparing the characteristics of each opportunity to other opportunities that have been won. And this feature provides a scoring model to generate scores for opportunities and leads in Dynamics 365 sales. Now, these scores are updated once a day. The nice thing about this is that admins can actually modify the factors that influence the scores by configuring that scoring model. And that's kind of cool, right? Because a lot of times it's already set in stone, but in this particular case, we can actually configure that model and say, hey, look at those fields when you're doing some of the comparison for that. Now, the scoring models are between, right, they provide scores between 0 and 100 for opportunities and leads. And it's kind of nice because then you can use these scores to prioritize these leads and opportunities, right? So that you're working on the opportunities and leads that have a better chance, obviously, in turning into a deal. So what you'll see on the opportunity form and the lead form is this scoring widget. And you can see that there are some details on how the score came about as well. And then you can get some additional details if you click on this little details icon that you have on there as well. So when you click that, right, you can see your score improvers and your score harmers as well. And that's, again, kind of giving the sales reps a little bit of insights on that as well. This one I think is also really great. This actually provides sales reps with details of inside people, right? Colleagues who actually already have a relationship with an existing lead or contact that is in your system. So think about a sales rep is trying to break into this account, but there's already a coworker that has a really good relationship with somebody that works at that particular account. So that's why this is a very, very nice thing. So people can also opt out of this, right? If they don't want to be included in this, you can have people opt out. But and then obviously you need to turn this on. This is literally just turning it on and changing some settings, and that's when it starts to work, which is really, really nice. Now, we already talked about these new email forms, right? But we haven't talked about email engagement yet and what we can do with that. So there you can see there's 3 different settings here, whether or not a recipient activity will be followed. And what that means is that if you send an email to this particular person, do you want to get notified, or do you want to know when this particular person opened that email? That's going to be shown on the timeline. You can also set a reminder for yourself. You can see that, right? Set a reminder to follow up on this. So that will go into your that assistant, right? Oh my goodness, this person opened your email, so I want to do something. And then lastly, you can also schedule to send the email at a later date as well. If it's not within the right time frame, maybe you're composing an email at 8 o'clock at night, nobody's looking at email, so maybe you want to send it the next day at 8 a.m. or something like that, right? So yours is the one at the top when the person comes in. You can do that obviously as well. And obviously, this is also something that needs to be turned on as well. Then I love this one, note analysis. So this provides users with suggestions for actions based on customer related activities. So when you create an activity or a note, this feature analyzes the description provided in those activities. And then you'll notice that the text is now going to be hyperlinked. And then you can kind of see that, right? It's hyperlinked. And then when you click on that, you're going to get this tiny little window with a suggestion. So this one is saying, hey, I need to schedule a meeting. So you click on that and it says, oh, do you want me to create an appointment? And then if you click on that, it's going to pull up that appointment window, the quick create window with some of the details in there already. So I really like that feature. And then we have relationship analytics. Again, this is just a matter of turning it on. But again, you need to have some integration settings enabled, such as the Exchange and Outlook integration as well. Because what this does is the relationship analytics assemble relevant information from throughout the system to create this graphical display of KPIs and activity history. So the graphical display shows this information for any contact, opportunity, lead, and account record. It also calculates the overall health and the trends of each of those business relationship. And then sales reps can then access the relationship analytics by opening the AI for sales forms that come with sales insights, and then they can kind of review that data. So I love this feature. This is great to show the customers as well. Then we also have auto capture, and that actually helps salespeople by simplifying the logging of customer related activities into Dynamics 365 sales. This provides activity suggestions for emails and meetings from your Outlook account. So it's going to help people to kind of show them relevant emails and meetings on the timeline together with some of the other activities that are related to any given record. Now, this is still in preview, right? But this can also suggest contact creation based on activities that are in your Outlook. If you're emailing a lot with a particular person, it can tell you like, hey, maybe you should create a contact for this person in Dynamics 365, right? So this is, again, also something that you can turn on or off from that sales insights area as well, which I'll show you in a second. And then this one is talking points. I want to go a little bit faster because I don't have a lot of time left here. I'm already getting that extra 10 minutes thanks to Roz. So I appreciate that. So this is kind of nice because if you're working with a lot of customers on a daily basis, it can get really hard remembering details about them, right? For example, when was the last time they went on vacation, or where did they go, or which concert did they go to? So that could be kind of a waste, right? Because those are usually the type of topics that are really great to start a conversation with and allow you to build the rapport with your customers. So that's exactly what this is doing. It surfaces these types of conversations inside of the application without the need of the sales rep to dig through emails. And again, this needs that integration with Exchange so that you're going to be able to see those talking points, if there are any, obviously, directly on a contact record. This also obviously needs to be enabled by an admin. And like I said, you need to have that Exchange integration to be enabled, including that server-side synchronization of email appointments, contacts, and activities. So some of the topics that you will be seeing is sport-related topics, vacation, and entertainment topics as well. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that real quick now that we have a couple of minutes left here. So if you go here to Sales Insight settings, this is everything related to that particular feature, right? All those features, I should say, under Sales Insights. So let's go here to auto capture. This is where you can turn that on, right? This is that premium auto capture, which is currently in preview. You just have to turn this on. Email engagement, same thing. You just turn it on. Node analysis, you just turn it on. Relationship insights, let's just go ahead, right? You can just turn that on. And this is where some of that data is coming from, right? It's coming from Dynamics, but it could also come from Exchange, right? Talking points, this is where you turn it on, and this is the topics that you can enable for the system to show. And then again, who knows whom. Now let's take a look what it actually looks like in Dynamics, right? Because I'm sure that you're interested in seeing that. I'm going to go here to Angel. This is that form that I was talking about, Sales Insights, that comes with the application. But you can also enable some of these these things on your own custom forms as well. So this is talking points. It's digging through my email and it's seeing that 2 months ago, he said something about taking his family on a vacation to Miami. And if I want to see the entire email, I can do that, right? I can just go ahead and expand that. So that's talking points. Who knows whom? Who from my organization has a good relationship with this person? If you actually click on the graph view, you can see this is now displayed in circles, right? So the larger the circle, the better the relationship with this particular person. So that's kind of what that shows. Let's see here. I did relationship. These suggestions, these are context suggestions. You can also see some of that over here, right? Hey, suggested contact. You might want to create a contact record for this person because I see in your inbox that you're emailing back and forth with this person a lot, right? So that's kind of what that is. Let's see what else I have. The Assistant Studio. So this is where you can create your own cards that will show up in the Assistant, right? And you can just use Power Automate for that. I have 2 minutes left, so I'm going to see if there are any questions here. How does it find information for topic points? Are you, Ali, are you talking about the talking points? if you are there, it's using, I think it's using Graph or one of those. I can actually show you that. If you go here, admin.microsoft.com. Yes, that's what Ali was talking about. So let me show you. You actually have to enable this, and this is all very well documented. I think it's in settings, org settings. No, it's not. Yeah, it is org settings. So you actually need to have connection graph enabled, and that's what it's using. So it's using connection graph to basically pull all of that information out. That's not the only thing that connection graph does, but that's one of the things that it does. So it's really digging through your emails to kind of see, hey, is this related to any of those topics, right? Vacation or entertainment or anything like that. And then you can see here, you can have a security group of people that need to be excluded. You can configure that as well, for sure. Yeah, it's a good question. I'm going to see if there's anything else here. Da, 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 da. Hey, Chris, good to see you. Forecasting capabilities. With the sales mobile app, will salespeople need to have both? Good question. Actually, no. One of them, the one that I showed you, the new one actually has the same functionality as the old one, but it also has some of the Office 365 or Exchange information in there, right? It's showing me appointments. If you have a customer that does not have that integration, then I would recommend them using the other app, right? The old, I don't even want to say old because it's still part of Dynamics 365. And like I said, it's not going anywhere either. Good question. Yeah, no, it's really Microsoft giving people some additional ways or additional, additional applications, right? To use with Dynamics 365, which I think is great. So the sales accelerator, I wrote 4 or 5 articles on that, and I did videos as well. And this Tuesday, something that just came out, I'm going to write about that as well. Definitely take a look at my website for that. And I'm going to go ahead and pull that up again. Take a look at d365goddess.com. Everything I covered today, almost everything I should say, I wrote articles about and I did videos about, really, really in depth. So if you guys want some more in-depth information, definitely check it out. Feel free to contact me via LinkedIn, or if you guys want to reach out on Twitter, feel free to do that as well. I hope this was valuable, and thank you guys so much for your time. And thank you, Raz, for allowing me to start a little bit early, although now we're back at 6 p.m.
Thank you, Diane. And I think a lot of people did benefit from that. A lot of the features you talk about aren't leveraged enough. And thank you once again, Diane, for agreeing to do this session. And yes, so we are at the end of the hour. So Diane, please, can you share your contact details in the chat? I've shared your blog already.
Awesome.
If you could share your LinkedIn, for example, so people connect with you and follow you, that would be great.
Yeah, I will do that.
Awesome, fantastic, Diane. So we're on the last session now of the day, and it's with one of the authors that are featured for this event. It's Robert Huchel. So we are actually showcasing his recently announced publication. It was literally only recently announced, and so we're very, very happy to have him here today. Robert, are you online?
I am.
Hello
Yes.
there, Robert. So, Robert, so obviously you're the last session of the day, and I think we're already 3 minutes over. So, without further ado, I feel if you could share your screen, and then what I will do is I will share